Hit the
Hi, everyone. It's Kelly from the Hub. Here today, of course, with our friend, Pastor Jim. How are you there, friend?
Pretty good.
Good.
It's a Tuesday morning here in Ephrata. And, by Thursday when they hear this, hopefully all of the snow and ice is gone and it's past us. But
wait,
it's really not too bad here in the
where
hill.
is there snow and ice? Do you have snow and ice?
Well,
I got nothing, man.
No.
I was going to say,
No.
I read the weather, I listened to weather, and I did something else with weather. And this morning I woke up and I was like, weather. This is...
The trucks are going up and down the hill here with their flashing lights and their spinning salt.
Maybe it's just going to show up at a different time. Yeah. I just...
Or never.
Or never, yeah. So, Pastor Jim and I struggled today. We had about 96 topics and we couldn't agree on a single one. So time was running out because it's not like we have other things we do in our lives. We don't just plan this and then the whole day is just us chit-chatting about stuff. So, we had to get to getting. We don't really have a schedule for today. So we're going to talk about things that pop into our brains.
So maybe that's something we could talk about, how often we fear we have to have things planned out. I imagine there's some people saying, what do you mean you guys don't have this all figured out well before and you get there on Tuesday mornings in front of the camera? You have no idea. Because a lot of times we're just checking in with each other and hey, what was your week like since last week that we talked, and we share those stories, but we honestly don't. It's very rare. There have been on occasions, but it's very rare that we come to this time in our day and say we're going to talk about this or that.
Well, we did in the beginning, but that was May when we started these. And, I had a little fancy list because that was so cute of like 5 topics that we were going to talk about. Cause I didn't realize that this was, people were were going to like us, and B, well, like-ish, whatever.
People would listen.
Well, would listen, and that we would continue past whatever. I thought this was just going to sort of end. Cause even in May, we didn't really plan. And still, okay. So let's backtrack for a second. As a former teacher, I am a mega planner. Like I would win prizes. I would win prizes in planning because, you have to. There's children, that's the management. If you don't plan for it, then things could surprise you and then you're caught off guard and then the world could explode. So I'm,
No.
Which, it doesn't matter. As all self-righteous as I am about my planning, there have been 100,000 times when they were just like, and then you're like, oh, okay, now we didn't plan for that.
And I laugh at that because, yes, in a way, I have to have some plans too, but I got so accustomed to letting the plans kind of go askew when you needed to, because in my former life as an event planner, a catering planner for events, you just can't plan that the wedding cake is going to fall off the table and you don't know it.
Right.
You can't plan that an oven is going to break down in the middle, of its 40 minutes of cooking, whatever.
Right.
And for me, it's like, planning is good, but I also, in the back of my head, always have, something else jiggling.
Yeah, so we thought we were going to talk about stuff.
And I don't know about you, but I can tell you that in my own family, so we're okay, pre-pandemic days, we were pretty good about getting together for special occasions.
Yeah.
But now the family has like grown,
And
like
you're also international.
And we're all international right now too. And I think I think if we would all get together, it'd probably be about 40 of us now. And it's like, oh my gosh, what are you gonna do with 40 people?
Yeah.
But back when there was only maybe about 20, 25, it'd
Yeah.
be nothing for us to call each other up on a Sunday and say, hey, let's meet at so-and-so's house. And we would do it. And we all talked about later how that was the best experience because
you just winged it.
we just winged it. And we left everything lay aside. We just kind of threw all of our certainty out the window and just winged it. Well, what are you going to bring to eat? Oh, I'll stop at Giant and get some chicken.
Yeah.
Oh, I'll stop and get some iced tea, or I'll get some potato salad,
yeah.
And those are the best times. And I think sometimes we get so caught up in that we've got to do certain things, certain times, whatever.
Well, because okay, seriously. So I've always been told I had a face for radio. So, this isn't like a natural thing for me to be like, oh, I'm a newscaster, so let's talk. That's not my thing. So, for me, I feel like if I'm not planned, I'm just going to look like an idiot. So that's why I like the planning, because, no one wants to look a fool. And now people from like other states watch us. So there's people in like Michigan who are like, girl, or whatever they say.
I know. Isn't it amazing?
So
Isn't it amazing?
It's hard.
You touch people's lives.
Go ahead.
The planning doesn't mean anything. All those people whose lives we touch them, we have no idea. We have no idea.
Right. And planning doesn't change this, right? I can't plan and go, sexy face. Like that doesn't change whether I plan or not. It's the same face.
That's a really interesting comment. It's like, we can't plan the way we're going to be, because sometimes we just kind of break that mold without even thinking about it.
Yeah.
We break that mold of like, of what was, and all of a sudden we become something different. And it's like, at first it's like, well, maybe that wasn't so bad after all.
Well, right.
So true story, Kelly, even as you just shared a few moments ago of how, how all of this got started.
Yeah.
I don't know if you remember, but I recall when you asked me if I wanted to do this, I was like, and you had 6 weeks lined up, and I said, I can't do 6 weeks. I'll do 3.
That's true. You did say that. That's true.
And then it was like, now I look at it and say, oh, Tuesday morning, it's 8:30. Where's Kelly?
Right. Right. And like, I keep a list in my head of like all the things that we have to talk about. Like, I'm like, oh, do you remember the thing? And then we talk about it.
And sometimes we talk about current events, and sometimes we don't. And I think what we want to tell our audience is that we need some help sometimes.
Yeah, like if you guys have things you want us to talk about, we'll go down the path.
Oh yeah.
What the heck? We've talked about this many things. We might as well talk about more. It's fine with me.
Well, and I have to admit that, I'm generally not afraid of any topics.
Yeah.
I am certainly no expert on anything.
I know.
I'm an expert.
I know a couple of things here and there.
I'm an expert on nothing.
There you go. Well, as a teacher also, there are times that just show up. And I remember that we were reading a thing once about chivalry with my AP World History kids. And it was about, there were clear rules that men had and that women had. And it was about how do you fall in love and all this stuff. And the discussion about, like we were comparing what does chivalry mean then, and like how did it get interpreted in like the 1950s, what does it mean like now, and we were having this whole sort of interesting change over time conversation, and the discussion evolved into a conversation about love and sex. And my students wanted to talk about, they really wanted to like talk with an adult about that topic, about should you have sex? Should you not have sex? And we in the middle of the conversation, they wanted to go there, and we were having a very academic conversation about it. And in the middle of the conversation, I went, wait, do you know that we are now having a conversation? And I brought it back to what we were talking about, and the kids went, huh. And then they went, okay. And then they wanted to talk about it more, but I just wanted them to be aware of what we were really talking about in that moment. But it was such a good conversation that they were like, yeah, this is totally fantastic. So it was one of the coolest conversations I've like ever had with kids. It was amazing.
So may I share a similar story?
Yeah, of course.
Similar in a whole lot of ways. And I don't think I've shared this one with you, Kelly, but okay. It was actually one of the coolest things that ever happened to me. So about 5 years ago, I was asked to be a faculty person on a summer camp, a week-long summer camp for young Christian adults. Now, these young Christian adults were between the age of 15 and 25. So, that's a pretty good span.
Yep.
So I was instructed that my topic would be something from the Bible, and they already gave me the topic, and we would be looking at the book Songs of Solomon. And it was like, okay. So first of all, there were supposed to be 2 of us teaching it. Then all of a sudden there was only 1 person teaching it, and that 1 person was me. So I'm going into this camp. I know nobody except a few of the adults that were part of the team that had invited me. So we get there and we go to our first class, and I have 18 teenagers show up.
Yeah.
An hour or 2 hours later, I was going to have another 18 show up. And I, just said, so tell me a little bit about you, your name, the color of your toothbrush, how many years you've been at camp, and why you took this class. Well, I took this class because it's Songs of Solomon. I'm a musician. I love to sing. I play an instrument in the band. My mom thought this would be really good because of music. My pastor said too, because you like music, you ought to take this class. So we go around the room and I hear everybody talk those things, and I say to them, and I said, wow, I said, this is wonderful. I said, I bet we could have a nice choir or small ensemble group, but I said, we're going to really talk about love and sex and relationships.
Yeah, they didn't know what Songs of Solomon was, did they?
If my mom would have known that, she would have never signed me up.
Well, she may have wanted to look at it.
But here was the greatest thing that happened. 3 days in, a young man said in front of the group that he was a part of, and said, Pastor Jim, he goes, I was really nervous on Monday when you told us what we were going to really talk about. But he says, I'm grateful because I don't know where else I would have had this conversation.
Right. And you know what? My kids said the exact same thing. Right. You can have talking about sex with your friends or watching it on TV, like learning about it from watching TV. And those kinds of things are one thing. But when you have an academic conversation, it changes how you think about it.
Exactly.
Because, none of the things you were talking about, I know, and none of the things that I was talking about were objectionable things. They were questions like, well, how do you know if you're ready? How do you know, like, what does it mean to love somebody? Do you believe it? Is it intellectual? Do you feel it? And like this whole conversation was like, and they were like, well, and like all of their faces were like, I don't, they could have had a hard time making sentences. Yeah, it was fascinating. It was absolutely fascinating.
Well, my group was just shocked that the Bible would have something about sex and relationships.
Right.
It's all about relationships. It's just about.
Right. We're like, there are several places where there are some very interesting text. They just didn't know. I mean, not that I've thoroughly read it from cover to cover. I will certainly not admit that. But I mean, there are parts. And
Kelly,
all of that came from that moment when you thought you were planned and you weren't. And really cool stuff showed up afterwards.
Yeah. I think that's what we were destined to talk about today. Just show up. Just show up.
And that if your plans go out the window, like, chillax about that. It can actually be okay. Even for someone like me who's like a mega planner, I have to let myself go at moments and just go, oh yeah, it's all right.
Because we can't control anything that happens. We can only control how we respond.
Right.
So if it doesn't go my way because of the way it was planned or whatever, I can get all up in arms and all crappy about it, or I can just like go with the flow. My always thing with go with the flow is I'm okay with that as long as no one is going to get hurt. And that's physically as well as emotionally and whatever. And that it's not against the law.
Right.
In other words, the law of the land. In other words, I'm not going to be imprisoned. I'm not going to be
right.
Tried. Right. Those are my two stipulations.
I know that when the moment occurs and the plans are gone, like, I know that fork in the road. And I know how it feels in my body. And I can take the path of, no, I'm going to force it, or, girl, chill out. And I truly, and sometimes I go down the wrong path and then I go, no, and then I have to steer myself over. Like, I can, my gut is to just go where the path was going to go anyway. And you can't really do that because everybody just looks so ugly at that moment. And you just have to let it go. Yeah. Then you have to sing it, of course. Yeah.
Yeah, sometimes the path of least resistance is the best path.
Yeah.
Best path. Yeah.
We found that we call them our COVID drives. Because we're not really going anywhere because, we're not going anywhere. So we take drives like we're 97 years old, which is hilarious. And we could drive all around. And it's funny because sometimes I have a plan and then we're like, oh no. And then we have to make a decision about it. Like sometimes the plan is drive south, but that doesn't happen. But yeah, that's where, yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, you just truly, you have to go where the road takes you, man. Go where the road takes you.
Yeah. And that's difficult for us to get into because we like to know where we're going and why we're going and when we're getting there and how we're getting there. And it's like, sometimes you just need to give your control up, my thinking of the way that it's got to be, and just allow things to flow. I mean, when the water flows by the river, do you think the water figures out where it's going to go?
Nope, it goes.
it goes where it just needs to go, and
Yeah.
it's okay. It's really okay. And the joy is when you figure out that, oh,
It's true. It's true.
that was okay.
Yeah, that was
I
okay.
didn't get hurt. I didn't get hurt.
No one got hurt and no one's gonna get arrested.
No one got arrested. Yeah.
Well, pals, follow your plan, and if it doesn't work, it's all right. It could be a fun week. It could be a fun week.
And in these days, when you said follow the plan, there was a particular worship service that I was on plan S.
Because ABC PQR didn't work. Oh,
And someone said, "What are you going to do when you get to Z?" I said,
start
"Go
over,
to
man.
sleep."
Yeah, right.
Z, go to sleep.
Right. It's not right. If I get all the way to
It
Z,
wasn't to happen. It wasn't to happen.
Oh, friends. All right. So, friends, feel free to give us some suggestions of things you want us to chat about. Local, not local. It doesn't matter to us. Whatever you want. Whatever you want. It'll be fun. And try not having a plan. See what happens. See what happens. It could be cool.
Yay.
See you, everybody.
Have a good week.